Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode with the Road to Glory podcast. I'm Juliet.
And I'm Cecilia. And if you're new here to the podcast, welcome. We make a lot of video series content. And this weekend, obviously, we have to cover the F2 weekend in Baku. And there's a lot to talk about. So I think we honestly should just get straight into it.
Yeah, Baku is it's a crazy circuit. The walls are very, very close because it's a street circuit. And if you watch F1 and you think, wow, we got a lot of red flags during qualifying, well, buckle your seatbelts because we got a lot of red flags in F2 as well. So yeah, we can just jump into the chaotic weekend that was Baku F2.
Yes, because to start off with, you think Baku, a street circuit, it's a track that the people graduating from F3, like the rookie season in F2, they haven't been to Baku before. This is a tough task for like every single rookie. But not only do we have full season rookies, we also have two new drivers who are literally the first time in an F2 car, at least in a proper race weekend. For Trident, which obviously it was announced earlier in the week that it will be Martinius Stenshorn and Lawrence Van Hooven that will take the two Trident seats, which was rumored before. So we did turn out to be right about that.
Yeah, and you know what I was thinking? The Trident livery of Martinius was not McLaren, even though he is a McLaren junior.
I noticed
He
that.
just had the back wing saying McLaren. So I wonder if it was like a short time before that they had for the announcement and for the contract to be signed, and that they didn't have time, or McLaren didn't want the full livery on the car. But you should keep up with us because we actually mentioned this in our previous episode, and we're just geniuses. You should come to us for all of the feeder series news.
Clearly, like feeder series news, feeder series rumors. This is the place to be. And also, like, obviously, as you say, we don't know when this was officially, like, the decision was made. It can seem that it wasn't, like, completely settled until shortly before the Baku race weekend, because also Sami Mekatunev had made, like, a social media post about him hoping that he would still be there, like, fighting to stay, and then practically the day after it's announced that he will be leaving the team.
Yeah, very unfortunate for Sammy and Max that they could not finish the season. But I hope they get to race elsewhere if they come back to the grid next year or this year with another team, or find somewhere else, because we all know F1 is not the only series to race in. There's so much else out there. But back to the weekend, wanted to mention that for the sprint, we had a 10-place grid job for Arbit for his incidents.
Yeah.
For his chaos.
His chaos Monza weekend,
at Monza, where he had a couple incidents with Alex and Roman. So he had to take a 10-place grid job for the sprint, which was probably not ideal for him. But you know what? He deserved them for what happened.
Yeah, it was unfortunate for him. Of course, it's not the way you want to go into the weekend knowing that you'll be starting on the back foot. But yeah, obviously, if you haven't heard what happened in Monza, go back and watch our race review of Monza, because we go through the chaos that was Arvid Lindblad's feature race there.
Yes, exactly. I think we can probably dive into quali. Stick around to the end because we have a feeder series news section where we'll be mentioning some news there. But to go back to the beginning of the weekend and start with quali, one thing to know about Baku is the tow is really strong, just like in Monza the weekend before. So you get a lot of drivers trying to kind of coordinate the strategy, which High-Tech seemed to do for Luke, but I don't know if Luke could do it back for Dino. But they did try and get that done.
Yes, because obviously in Baku, the start-finish straight is extremely long. Like in the races, there's not that much run to turn one, but like when the whole straight, you can get a massive tow if you time it right. So definitely something that some of the teams played around with. But yeah, as you say, it's difficult to like actually with the amount of time you have in qualifying to make sure that it's both drivers that get the tow isn't always possible, especially not when you have such a start-stop qualifying as we did get, because obviously we pretty early on had our first red flag with Americo deal finding the wall.
Yeah, so our first red flag was caused by Amory, and it was just crashed into the wall.
Yeah, and obviously an important aspect of qualifying in F2, also in F3, they have applied this new rule this season that they don't have in F1, with if you are the sole cause of a red flag in qualifying, even though like it's not on purpose, it will mean that your best time will be deleted. So obviously for Americo Deal, it didn't matter too much because like he didn't really set a time anyway, and at least not a good one. But it will come to play in some of the later red flags, unfortunately.
Yes, exactly. You know, there's one thing that I'd like to note here, that
Yeah.
at one point, Luke and Alex had the exact same lap time, down to the
Yes.
hundredths. And I was
Mm,
like, that's so insane.
it is.
Like, can you? I know it's happened in F1 before, but like it's like the chances of that happening are just insane. And
Yeah.
I think they're just Luke and Alex in my mind are very. I mean, they're pretty much all evenly matched, but in my mind, Luke and Alex, as rookies, tend to be quite on an even playing field.
Yeah, definitely. And that did obviously manifest itself in them setting the exact same time, which is ridiculous because like even if there's a slight time difference between them, like you can't even imagine, like you can't even blink in the time that the difference is. But like having the exact same time, like, it's so satisfying seeing like the 0.000, like nothing in between them.
Exactly. It wasn't long
No.
before we got another red flag for the most unlucky F2 driver. The most.
Even the commentators, I'm picking up on it now, like saying don't stand next to Victor Martins if it's a thunderstorm. It's like,
It's gonna rain on him and nobody
yeah,
else.
no.
Oh my
Also, we
gosh.
we did curse him in last week's episode, saying like, "Oh, now we're talking about him being so unlucky.
Yeah.
Maybe now he'll win Baku." That didn't happen.
We did
Certainly
double
didn't.
unluckiness on him.
Yes, unfortunately we did, because he obviously found a wall, crashed into it. He could have, like, it is unfortunate because it's one of the parts of the circuits where if he realized that he wouldn't be able to make the corner, there was a runoff area that he could have escaped on, but he was like, he believed in it until the last moment and it didn't work out for him. So he's like one of the drivers where he caused the red flag and his time was actually good enough to be fourth place, but that then obviously the best time being deleted dropped him all the way down to 13th, I believe. So definitely
Yeah.
a big change in starting position from like it's one small mistake that had big consequences.
Yeah, it was really unlucky. Oh my gosh. Just unlucky and Victor should just be in the same
Yes.
sentence always, apparently. Like, it's,
Mm,
oh my gosh. I don't know what needs to be done to his car. Something needs
well,
saging. We need to bless it with holy water. It's
yeah,
every single weekend.
it's
Um,
ridiculous.
yeah.
And it isn't just this season, because, like, okay, his rookie season was actually his best season in F2, which is very rare that happens. Like, he was the best rookie that year in 2023. And since then, it just hasn't worked out for him. He's just been so unlucky. And he has been driving for the same team all these years. Like, what can we do, ART? Because something needs to be done for these final two races. Like, let the man end on a high.
He needs to change some routine in his life because something's
Yeah.
not working. Something's
Oh,
not clicking. But when we finally got going again after the red flag, there were 4 minutes left of qualifying. And it's like, oh, okay,
yeah.
now we need to go out and set our lap times.
Yeah, and even before it was green again and they were allowed to go out, I just knew. Like, if having seen enough F2, you and F3 for that matter, you just know that if they only have 4 minutes left or like less than that, there will be someone who like puts it all on the line and they will it will end in a red flag, okay? People won't be able to get a better time. You just know. Like, someone will mess up. And that did happen, of course.
Yep, that happened with Roman Stanek. And now you think, oh, well, maybe he just took himself out. No, we had a
No.
poor, unsuspecting John Bennett who got absolutely crashed into. Roman didn't make the first corner. He took it quite wide, went off the track, but thought, I really need to get this final lap in. So he rejoined the track really fast. I don't think he looked in any of his mirrors, and he just
No.
went completely into the side of John Bennett.
Mm. It was honestly such dramatic fashion that this red flag happened. Because, like, obviously with there not being a lot of time and Roman Stanek having just started his push lap and then it obviously not working out for him because he went deep into turn one. He's like thinking, okay, I need to get back to the track so I can make it around the track again, start another lap. But like, please, have you ever heard about rejoining the track safely? Or like I would love to have seen his onboard because I would love to see where he was looking. Because
Yeah,
how do you go straight into the side of another driver? I do not know. But obviously took John Bennett out of contention and basically took everyone out of contention because that obviously meant a red flag with not enough time left to restart the session.
exactly, which was really unfortunate. And Roman got a 5-place grid drop for both races and 2 penalty points, which deserved. It was a
Yeah.
very horrible incident and took out poor unsuspecting John Bennett.
Yeah.
Um, Another person actually got a grid drop, which was Joshua Dirksen.
Mm.
He got 1-place grid drop for both races for impeding Lawrence Van Hoopen, which we actually didn't really. I don't remember seeing it on the coverage, but
No.
I saw it got noted afterwards. But to wrap up qualifying, someone I feel like the person who qualified first has taken a little bit of a step back, but I feel like he's kind of come back into the championship conversation. We have Jack
Yes.
Crawford in P1, and Leo Formaroli in P2, which is insane because he's a
Uh,
rookie and he's one of the rookies who did not join last year, so he did not do Baku, so he does not know the circuit. So it was great to see him in P2 and Gabriele Mini in P3.
yes. Come back for Prema Mini. We really needed that so bad. And
We did.
obviously we will get to the Prema not having any form of race pace, unfortunately, but at least we had a good moment in qualifying, okay? I'll take that personally. And obviously also Mini is a rookie this season, but he's not a rookie in Baku because obviously he was one of the drivers standing in last year actually for Prema because Ollie Behrman was racing in F1 that weekend, so that probably did help him out slightly. But it was great to see that top three. Also, as you mentioned, this weekend has had like big implications for the championship because obviously Fornaroli as a rookie is leading the championship and Crawford in his third year is like crawling his way up the standings. And like I know we've mentioned a lot on this podcast about obviously rookies potentially being able to win the championship versus the more experienced drivers winning the championship. But like a driver like Crawford in his third year, that just seems to be like a really normal thing at this point. Like it's your third year that you take the title, even though it's seen like not as great as if you did it in your first or second year. But like it happens so often that I wouldn't
Yeah,
even be surprised if he ends up stealing the championship right by the end. Because obviously we only have 2 race weekends left after this, which is insane. And we have to wait for 2 months
I know.
until like a double hitter will decide the championship.
I'm so sad that we have to wait so long. Um,
Same.
but you know who I felt like didn't really have a great weekend overall, but especially also in qual was Richard. Richard seems to have
Yeah.
fallen a bit down in our championship conversation. It seems to be changing. It changes every weekend who we talk
Yeah.
about, who's in contention. Um,
Mm.
but it just wasn't the greatest weekend for Richard overall.
No, Richard has fallen off a bit in the more recent races, and he definitely needs to come back on a high if he wants to have any chance at realistically being able to win the championship because he has been struggling with qualifying specifically. Like he has been having some good races, like being able to move forward and gain points, but like it obviously makes it harder for himself if he qualifies outside of the top 10 every time, which it
Yeah.
seems to be a trend for him right now. But the final thing I will mention about qualifying is obviously we mentioned that Stanek has those grid drops. Obviously, he also had his best time deleted. So even though the 5 places doesn't seem like, maybe some people don't think it's harsh enough because it was a very dangerous thing he
Yeah.
did, we still have to consider that his time was also deleted. So it did drop him back quite a bit. So he got what he deserved, probably.
Yeah. Exactly. And then I think we can move on to the chaotic
The
sprint.
sprint. Yes.
Because it's such a short run down to turn 1.
Oh my god. Yes.
No one makes it unscathed through there, especially when they're trying
No.
to go 3 wide. Sebastian Montoya actually had a very good launch.
We love that
Um,
for him.
yeah, great, because he didn't really have the greatest luck later on. But
No, but we'll come to that. I'm sure.
exactly. But we obviously had 3 wide into turn 1, um, which
Yeah.
just always lands up in damage.
Yes, because it all started with our pole sitter, Rafael Lida Gomez, having a poor-ish start. Like, that is where, like, it, obviously, because as you mentioned, it's a short run down to turn 1, but then when the pole sitter gets a bad launch, that is when things will happen into turn 1, because obviously then he's on the back foot. And yeah, gets pretty much taken out of contention by contact between him and Pepe Marti. And then obviously it was our new rookie, Martinez Stenshorn, on the inside. So yeah, 3 wide, I should say, never goes. And it also didn't this time, and it unfortunately hurt any hopes for Villa Gomez to get a good point haul in this race, because it ended in turn 1.
Exactly, which brought out the safety car, which got a lot of laps this weekend. We had the
Yes,
safety car out
again.
for yeah, as always.
Yeah.
We had the safety car out for about 4 laps, and then we
Yes.
we had an incident at the back after we got going with Kush Miney, who kind of got tagged by
Again.
Anne-Marie Cordial,
It's
and
always Krishmini these days. Like,
and
can you
is
get
it
your
his birthday
break?
today or was his birthday yesterday?
It was one of these days.
It
So
was Kush's birthday weekend. Like, can you not
mm,
disrespect this man?
yeah, I'm sorry, but like, give the man space. Let him have a good race soon. Also, a star of this weekend in general that I feel like we have to mention before we go further into the sprint is Martinez Stenshorn. Obviously, the Norwegian rookie going into Trident. Obviously qualifying in the top 10, which meant in reverse grid he started 4th. And like, he had a great start,
Oh, he had
obviously.
so much pace.
Yeah, he really did. And we will get to his unfortunate events later in
Yeah.
the race as well.
Um, my notes, I obviously didn't write anything right because I said dunk with a 3-second lead. I think I mean Dino? Was it Dino in front at that point?
Yeah, it was Dino, because Dino started second, and obviously because of Rafael Villagomez's unfortunate events in turn 1, Dino easily took the lead. Montoya right behind him, and then I believe it must have been Stenshorn that had made it all the way up to P3
Yeah.
already by then. So like, really strong start. Obviously, as you say, there was a safety car. We got back going again, and the thing I noted down was the fact that Martinez Stenshorn, sometime after the safety car, made a great move on Montoya for P2, like sent down the inside, no incidents, cause pure good
Clean.
racing. Yes, made it up to P2, which obviously sad to see Montoya miss a position because we love Prema, we
We
love
did.
Montoya, but it was very impressive to see by Martinez.
It was, but unfortunately for him, he
Yeah,
had a problem and started slowing down. And you can just tell when someone just starts dropping down the order, you're like, what happened? Which
yes.
then brought out the safety car again and ended Dino's like 3-second lead. But you know, Dino had already dealt with the safety car restart. and did the next one really well. Like honestly, and Dino's one of the rookies who did not race at Baku last year as well. So he doesn't have that much practice at the track.
No, it's really interesting to see because he is one of the rookies and I feel like it was literally like in the Monza race review that we talked about. He's one of the rookies that we expected more of, and he hasn't really shown that much so far
Yeah,
this season. So what a time to really show what he's got now that we are in like the final couple of races. Because like obviously nothing is for sure for next year. Nothing is certain. Like this is the time you need to prove that you deserve one of the good seats.
yeah,
So Dino had an amazing weekend. So yeah, definitely controlled the race with all the safety car restarts
yeah.
we would get.
With his safety car restart after the incident with Martinez, actually Sebastian did land up following him a bit. And
Yeah.
both of them started pulling away from the field, which I thought was really impressive because they both showed that they had a lot of pace at that
Yeah.
time. And they started pulling away from the field by like 4 seconds. So everyone else was kind of stuck behind them with no DRS, and they were like going off into the distance.
Yeah. It was very impressive to see. But obviously if you didn't think Baku needed any more cares, it was also after this second safety car that rain started to fall slightly. It didn't affect the race that much, but still, like we don't need any rain here to
No,
spice
we
things
we
up.
didn't need it.
No, but we got a little bit, but not too much. But obviously, then we had a good battle between Dunn and Browning, which obviously we have talked about them being very evenly like skilled. So we had a bit of going back and forth between those two.
Yes, they were really battling, and I was like, can we not have contact, please? Can we keep this clean?
Yes.
Because if you take each other out, I'm not going to be happy. Um,
No.
but then we had Sebastian Montoya, who just out of nowhere starts slowing down and pulls to the side,
Yes.
and that was his podium just completely gone. He'd been
Just
running
disappeared.
so well in P2, and it was over for him.
Yes, because obviously we got a replay where it looked like obviously there's some fire going out of the back of his car, which is normal, but there was like a lot of fire going out of the back of his car, like more than normal. And the weird thing is also like I was so sure that he was just completely out of the race, but somehow his car kept going again. So
Yeah.
like he was just chilling at the back of the field on a sudden.
Yeah.
But yeah, not what you wanted to see when he was running for the podium. For sure. Also, his teammate Mini did also like make a pass on Don, so it looked like okay, so maybe we didn't get the Montoya podium, but maybe we'll still get a Premier podium. Mini turned out we didn't because Mini didn't have any race pace in the end of the race because he just kind of faded away completely. Like it just looked like, especially I noticed down the straight, sometimes it just seemed like he had nothing to
Yeah.
challenge with at all.
It was like multiple people overtaking him. Suddenly Minnie's like far back because
Yeah,
they're all so close
exactly.
together. Which was
Yes.
really must have been frustrating for Prema because they at one point seemed to be on for a good haul of points.
Yes.
And then their race overall Prema did not end great.
No, it
But
wasn't meant to be.
with Sebastian not being in this podium fight anymore,
Oh.
we had a Dino P1 in the end and a
Uh-huh.
Luke P2, which is the first 1-2 for high tech in 5 years.
Yes, that's insane to think about as well. But like, well done, high tech. Honestly, super well deserved, and we love to see it. Everyone was just genuinely so happy with their end positions.
They really do. High tech seems to be a team that are climbing up
Mm,
in F2 and are really in a good rhythm at the moment. And I hope it
I
stays
agree.
because
Yeah,
I love high tech.
it feels like they made a turn last year when Paul Aaron joined the team because I feel like before that the couple of years before that, they weren't performing like that well. Like I was actually kind of surprised when Paul Aaron joined them, but he
Yeah,
definitely seemed to get something out of the team, which then both Luke Browning and Dino Bogdanovic has like continued that run of form. So
yeah,
will be interesting to see what they can do in the final couple of races, and also especially going into next year.
exactly. I foresee Dino doing another season, so it'll be interesting to
Definitely.
see if he stays with High Tech. And then obviously I actually don't see Luke doing another season. I think
Uh,
with the form that he's shown, and I mean he still could possibly win the championship. I don't know if I see him doing another season because it could be like we could have a Victor and he just has awful luck afterwards, you know?
Yes,
So I
true.
like almost don't want him to do another season because he's been
No.
performing so well. It's just not gonna go the way that he wants it to.
It's always a risk if you had a good first season then coming back because you're never guaranteed that it will be the same next year. And that can obviously reflect poorly on you. So it will be interesting to see if he doesn't win the championship. Obviously, we'll get to the feature race, but that definitely did hurt his point score a
Yeah.
lot. But he's not out of contention yet. So obviously, if
No.
he wins the championship, it will be guaranteed that he won't be able to come back. But like even if he's in like runner up or third, it will be interesting to see if him and Williams decide to like stay in F2 or if they decide to just move him up to reserve. Because also, even though he is a rookie in F2 this year, he's still one of the older rookies. It's not like he's 16 or anything. Like
No.
he is mature enough to move up now, and definitely with the performances he has shown this year. So definitely a driver to keep an eye out on if they decide to stay or move on.
Exactly. Just rounding off the podium,
Yeah.
we land up having Alex P3, which was good for
Yes.
him. A bit of a nice score of points that he got. And
Yes.
sneakily, Jack Crawford in P4, which was also a good haul of points for him.
Definitely. Very important for his championship hopes for sure. And also, like with the podium, the final thing I want to mention about the sprint is that we obviously was very beautiful to see the juniors of like a Ferrari Junior, a Williams Junior, and a McLaren Junior all being on the podium together. Like that was very nice to see.
Yeah, I love all the junior teams being there.
Yeah, I love to see that. Also because the Ferrari has like obviously they were busy in F3 with Rafa being on the podium all the time, but obviously in F2 they only have Dino and he hasn't performed to the levels that they expected. So I'm sure they were very happy to finally have a reason to go to a podium ceremony for F2 and see Dino up there.
Agreed.
But I guess we can move on to the feature race now
Yes.
because if this was chaotic,
Yeah.
so was the feature.
The feature race was, unlike in Monza, we actually had some differing tire compounds. Uh,
Yeah. But still not a lot, though. I
no,
was actually
still a very small
surprised.
amount.
Yeah. Like a lot of people decided to start on what obviously they call an F2 the option tire, so the softer of the two compounds.
So we had Miney and Van Hoopen, and I think Rafael Villagomez, because that's what the timing sheet said. So I'm gonna go with
Yeah.
that. They were the only ones on the soft tires. And everyone
Yes.
else went for super softs.
Yeah, I'm actually interested if my theory for Monza is true. Like, I need to talk with someone who is like the strategic guy or woman for a F2 team. Because, like, is the super soft just chosen, like the soft of the two tires? Do we choose them because we're sure there will be a safety car in the start of the race? Like, honestly, I feel like at this point, this is only the only strategic option that they're making because they
Yeah,
know, like, around lap 6, there'll be a safety car.
yeah,
No reason to start on the harder of the two compounds.
exactly. Like around our window, we will 100%
Mm.
have a safety car, so we might as well.
Yeah, I feel like apparently that must be what they're feeling because we usually see a lot of people being on like an alternative strategy of starting on the opposite tire, but not this weekend, and also not in Monza.
No, if we go back to the race start, Luke Browning.
Yeah, Luke Browning. Let's start that. I'll let you take that.
He had such an awful start. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Like, I don't know what happened to him. He didn't stall.
No.
He was just so much
He,
slower than everybody else.
he was very slow off the start.
And I thought, Luke, we've had some great starts here. You won from
Yeah.
pole last weekend. What is happening?
Yeah.
Um, to be honest, Jack didn't have the best start, but Leo
No.
Fornaroli had an amazing start and landed up taking the lead.
Yeah, because obviously another poor start from pole for some reason, which is very interesting. Because again, like if you just get a clean start from pole, you should have good chances of keeping the lead again because of the short run down to turn one. But yeah, he had a poorish start, Jack Crawford, but it just seems worse by second place Leo Fornaroli having a great start. So yeah, he took the lead off Jack. And Jack's poor start didn't end there because Gabriele Mini also managed to pass him on that one. So like he dropped down to third with a new order being obviously our championship leader at still. I was about to say at this point, he is still the championship
Yeah.
leader also after this weekend. Leonardo Fornaroli in first, Mini in second, and then Jack dropping all the way to third. But also like as you mentioned with Luke, dropping from 5th to 8th. So kind of think about how poor his start was. It's impressive that he didn't lose more positions than that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If we go back to the front of the field, we actually started having Leo Fornaroli pulling away by like 3 seconds for
Yeah.
a couple laps. Again, just it seems like the person who was in front maybe had clean air. I mean, DRS is so powerful here, but because he broke
Yeah.
DRS behind him, he just could kind of go off into the distance.
Yes, and I also think that's definitely something that plays on the leader's mind, that it is so important to break the DRS distance. So that is maybe why they really focus on creating a gap right from the get-go, because it will definitely help them when they come down to the main straight that they don't have a driver right behind them.
Exactly. And Martinez again
Yes.
was having a great race. He was keeping it clean until
He was actually moving ahead.
yeah.
He was like going from, I believe, he started 7th. He was all the way up to 4th at one point because he passed Pepe. But yeah, things didn't end with Pepe there.
No,
Unfortunately. Another of your favorite drivers.
I feel like Pepe and Martinez have this unspoken beef between them because
Yeah.
they had a little bit of an incident. There wasn't really enough space for Martinez. And he
No.
landed up just going straight on into the barriers. That was Martinez's race done. Pepe could continue, but he did receive a 10-second time penalty after the race,
Yeah.
which dropped him obviously from where he ended the race in 6th. So he still had an okay race after that, but it dropped him
Mm.
completely out of points. And added
Yes.
2 penalty points onto his license, which takes us up to 5 for the season.
Yeah. At least he's still far away from a race ban, which can't be said about all of the drivers this year. Not talking about anyone specific, but yeah, definitely the incident between Pepe and Martinez is so unfortunate because honestly, Martinez Stenshorn was really like the star of this weekend, and like he just wasn't allowed to get the good result that he wanted because like obviously running in 4th, he was doing great, and then yeah, just like small contacts between Pepe and Martinez obviously led Martinez to run into the wall in turn 1 and end his race.
Yeah.
It will be interesting though to see what he can do. At least this wasn't his only weekend, because that would have been such a shame if we had like this was his only stand-in weekend. We will see him again. He will get the chance again. But yeah, obviously we talked about Triton. They have only scored 2 points this season with Sami Megatrunev. Like if only Martinez was able to like finish the race in the positions that he was in. Like he could have had an amazing points haul to give the team, and that shows that that car can do something. Clearly, at least in some drivers' hands. Even though Lawrence Van Hoopen also was just kind of chilling in the back, which is more what you would expect from any rookie.
Exactly. So we do know that Trident has pace, so it'll be very interesting to see what happens in our final two races in 2 months or so. But
Yes.
obviously because of Martinez's crash, we got the safety car and it was at turn 1. So the instructions were that everyone should follow the safety car through pit lane. And
Yes.
now this is a prime time to pit. Now you're thinking, oh, F1 cars, they double stack all the time. F2 cars, double stacking is not good. The second car will always have a much slower pit stop. And
Yes.
just, it's always chaos. And
Mm.
unfortunately for Leo Fornaroli, he got held quite a bit because of where he was in the pit lane after he pitted. He couldn't go out because there were just so many cars coming, and he lost the lead because of that. Because it was just chaos.
Yes. It is so unfortunate because obviously in F2 you have to wait to do your mandatory pit stop until lap 6. So obviously everyone going to the pit lane. When they hit lap 6, everyone was going to pit obviously to not like lose any ground. But for those who don't know, F2 they like switch around where in the pit lane you are. So it's not like the same place every weekend. So it really just comes down to luck how early or late you are in the pit lane. And unfortunately, Invicta was pretty early in the pit lane this weekend. So him pitting, he just had to wait for every single car passing him because if they let him go, it would have been an unsafe release. And he could have damaged his car, another car, and get a penalty. So it literally wasn't until his teammate Stanek came into the pit. And he was pretty far down the grid, obviously, because he had those penalties and deleted time because of a red flag. It wasn't until he came that there was a gap he could go out into. So it ended up being Mini coming out in the lead with a great Prema stop. They were pretty late on in the pit lane, I believe, as well. So he didn't like have to wait for as much traffic. So
Yeah.
great pit stop, Prema
And
and
it
Mini.
wasn't like it was just one person who came out in front of Leo.
No.
No, 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 no. Jack came out
Also Jack
in
Crawford.
second, and Pepe Markey
Yes.
came out in third, and then it was Leo.
Yes.
And it was just honestly, I would have been I mean, it's just bad, again, bad luck. I would have been angry, but there was literally nothing that the team could have
No.
done any different. It wasn't like they had a specifically slow stop. It was just
No.
because of positioning in the pit lane.
Yeah, so as a championship leader, it's really just like head down and continue doing your thing and try to regain the lead, which didn't happen, but we'll get to that. I was like talking about the crazy pit stops, and you mentioned double stacking. I will say, at least no second car lost both their back wheels, because that did happen when the Prema had to double stack back in 2023. Thank you very much. So they have learned how to restart the wheel gun, and that because that has traumatized me, and I will never stop thinking about that whenever there's a double stack. Like, please, 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 for the second car,
Yeah.
let's fix the back wheels properly, right?
Yeah, let's actually put them on the car.
Yeah, so not both of them just fly off like Fred and Sanford. Yeah, good
Exactly. At
times.
least we didn't have any major incidents like that. But
No,
Luke just back to Luke. His race was
yeah,
not great. He landed up going off.
no, he lost out as well in the pit stop frequency, massively. Like he went all the way down to P16, I believe. So he must have been like stuck waiting in traffic as well in the pit lane.
Yeah, it was so chaotic to honestly keep up with and to watch everyone because
It was.
everyone's in the pits and you're like, what is even going on here? But
Yeah.
after coming out of the pits and when they got
Hmm.
going again, he went off and came back and just landed up being at the back of the field. He pitted,
Yeah.
continued running. I don't know why. Maybe for practice, maybe for the thrill of it, but there was no way
Yeah.
anything was going to change.
No. And of course, also the reason why he went off after, obviously, like, there was a safety car, they pitted, the safety car ended. Everything is fine. Actually, it wasn't that chaotic start, but we definitely had some. It was very hard to see what happened. Obviously, you mentioned Luke going off. Apparently, there was contact between him and Roman Stanek. Of course, again, Roman Stanek being involved. Like it wasn't his fault, but still.
Yeah.
the contact was between them. So definitely race ending for Luke, unfortunately, and very much not what he needed when there are not that many races left in F2. And he was second in the championship going into the weekend. And even though he had a great sprint race, obviously it massively hurt him not scoring a single point in the feature race, especially, which we will come on to with Jack Crawford having an amazing race.
Exactly. The next major incident that I really remember, there was a little bit of fighting between Jack and Minnie. Minnie seemed he really wanted to keep his place, but Jack overtook him. All until we had a bit of a rookie error from Leo Fornaroli, which I feel like we've not really seen much from. Like, we haven't seen a big mistake like this.
No.
But I don't know if he forgot to brake or braked too late, or Alex braked a bit earlier than he was expecting. But Leo Fornaroli just went straight into the back of Alex Dunn.
Yes, obviously he claimed on the radio that Alex Dunn braked earlier than he expected, but nonetheless, we have seen these kind of things before. It is very unfortunate incident, and obviously an incident that Fornaroli sold cause of, so he did get that 10-second time penalty, and it definitely took Alex for a little excursion out into turn 1. At least he wasn't out of the race at that point, which he managed to continue for a little while anyway.
Yeah, he managed to get another couple laps under his belt. Leo also got 2 points on his license, which has been quite a clean license so far. So
he has been very textbook so far this season.
Exactly. So
definitely.
It'll be interesting to see, because we are coming up to some tracks that they haven't been on before. Like this one Leo hadn't been on, and then we're going to Abu Dhabi and Qatar, obviously, and they're tracks that he hasn't been on. So I wonder if we'll see a little bit of a little cracking in Fornaroli's armor, see if there's some weaknesses there. Still leading the championship, even though with all of that.
Yes, he still has a healthy lead of 19 points, I believe, which is obviously that could have been more, because it's so unfortunate when you see the incident between him and Alex, because you're thinking, okay, Luke is out of the race, and at this point, that was his closest rival, so it's like, okay, lock in Fornaroli, this is your time to score big points. But yeah, and it looked bad at the time when he got the 10-second penalty. It did look like he could drop all the way out of points, but luckily he did lock in and did manage to pass some cars, get all the way up to third, and then with all the messiness behind him of people fighting each other for dear life, they dropped back massively fighting each other. So he did manage to actually open a gap of 10 seconds that then only dropped him back to P5 in the end.
Yeah. All of the madness that was kind of happening in the back, Alex Dunn was fighting for his life. This poor man.
He was.
He was locking up, going off track, continue going off track at the same spot, and landed up finishing the race just in the runoff area, right at the end. They just had a yellow flag for him because he was not really in the way. He actually had a visitor who landed up joining him in the runoff area. Kushmani had a moment and said, I want to come join you too. This looks fun.
Yeah, I didn't even notice Kush going off then. All of a sudden, it was on the camera. Alex and Kush were just chilling. And I was like, when did you get here as well?
No, literally. He was like, I want to join you. You look lonely. Can I come?
Exactly. Also, it was so odd that Alex also DNF'd in that corner, because obviously he went deep and locked up, went into the runoff area, rejoined the track, and then pretty much the next lap he did exactly the same thing. And at that point I was just like, does he just not want to continue this race? Is his car actually broken, or does he just want out? Maybe maybe even hoping for a safety car. That was what I was thinking, because if there had been a safety car and not just a double yellow, that could have meant that Fornaroli would literally drop right out of the points. Did Don know that? Was that a big brain moment for him that didn't succeed? Just putting it out there.
Maybe, perhaps, but it was
We will
really
never know.
not. It was not the greatest race for Alex.
No, definitely not. Another driver that had an amazing race, though, was Joshua Dirksen. Obviously, starting all the way down in 15th. Yeah, AIX representing with Jody. Had an amazing race going all the way up to P2. And even like in the end of the race, he was challenging for the lead. And can I just mention, can we please stop calling Joshua Dirksen's car a rocket ship? Because now you all saw that he could not pass Jack Crawford in those final laps. And if he had like that big of an advantage with his engine, as some people have suggested, surely he would have been able to pass him. And he wasn't. So can we give the man some credit this time for what he did?
The man drove from P15 to P2. Like, yes, people in front of him had some bad instances and moments happen to them. But honestly, the talent that he has to drive that AIX car all the way to the front of the field, while the other AIX car is nowhere. But he's just such an impressive race for him. So we had Jack P1 literally holding off Joshua, like, honestly,
for dear life.
I didn't know
like,
he was
it was
so
win. Close between them.
I know.
No. It felt like it was going to be a drag race to the line.
Agreed. We had Joshua P2 and a double podium, Dino P3.
Yes.
It was honestly, I think we did this. I'm going to take credit for it because, as you mentioned earlier,
definitely.
We said Dino hasn't had the greatest rookie season so far. And look at him. He's telling us, don't speak bad about me because look what I can do.
This actually needs to be studied because we did the same thing for Oliver Goethe, and right after he had a couple of great races. So like it doesn't last forever because Oliver Goethe has fallen off again. But like we give them like a little push, like a couple of really good races after we've talked bad about them. So like something to look into.
Exactly. And we had Mini in P4, which was honestly a great result for him because he's had a really, really tough season. And as you mentioned, Leo only landed up being P5 because of the gaps that happened behind him. So he still scored some decent points.
Yes, so definitely good for his championship, because looking at the bigger championship picture, it is still Fornaroli leading, but now obviously Jack Crawford winning the race. He has crawled his way up to P2 in the championship, so obviously Luke Browning dropping it down to P3 in the championship. But then again, nothing has been decided yet. We still have 2 rounds to go. We have ages to wait, so it will be interesting to see how the drivers manage that. But yeah, I would definitely not want to, like, what I'm trying to say is that it is so important for them to like really be ready for these final 2 races, because whoever starts off great can like have that momentum to like keep it going into the final race, and that like every single race will be so important from now on till the end.
Exactly. Every point scored is really valuable now because there's only a certain amount of points left. And we will pick up with F2 again with our race reviews after Qatar in like 2 months. But don't you worry. We're not going anywhere. If you haven't checked it out, head over to our Instagram right now because we actually have a very exciting announcement up there that you're going to want to go and look at because it will give you a little bit of a teaser for what next week's episode is going to look like.
Yes, because we have a very exciting episode planned for next week, and you can get involved as well with some things for that episode. So go to our Instagram right now if you haven't already seen what we're talking about.
Yes,
because I just want to say, like, I want to say it's a bad. Like, I was about to say, we can't keep the suspense, but probably most people have already seen it anyway, because when this episode comes out, we have made the announcement post that we will be interviewing no other than, I actually don't know how to pronounce the last name, I just realized.
Me too.
We'll be interviewing Holly Mial? Yeah, I don't know how to say her last name. We'll have figured that out before we interview her, but
We 100% will have. We'll get the correct pronunciation. Maybe we'll get her to tell us so that we definitely know. Um, but
yeah.
yes, continuing our theme of interviewing GB4 drivers, which is very on brand for us.
Yes.
We love theatre series here. So definitely go check out our
We
Instagram
do,
post,
obviously.
get involved, comment if you have anything to ask her. But also, just going back to our normally scheduled content, don't fret. The following weekend we have F1 Academy back in Singapore. So with this loss of
Yes.
content coming out from us, we are still going to be around. We also had testing for F1 Academy. Where did they test again?
Somewhere in Spain. They tested. Both obviously the full-time drivers, but also like a full day just for a rookie test with potential drivers for next year.
Yeah. So if you want to see us cover that and potentially dive a little bit more into those rookie drivers, let us know. We're always happy to take suggestions, especially on weeks when we don't technically have a race weekend to recap. So leave your suggestions below and follow us on all of our socials. They should be linked. But to be honest, I think we've wrapped up Baku pretty well. One last thing I
Yes.
actually want to mention is we got an announcement for the F2 grid for next year. We got Nicholas Solovs
Yes.
coming to campus, which I feel like we said would happen.
We definitely did. Like, it was like, he's definitely just staying with Campos, moving up to F2, and we were right. So again, another sign that you should really listen to us, because we tend to be right about these things, so apparently.
Exactly. But make sure to tune back in next week for our very exciting interview. You're going to want to be seated for it. We've got some great questions planned, and who knows, we'll maybe answer some of your questions that you have suggested. But I think that is everything for this episode. Thank you so much for listening, for watching, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.